Well, I want to first start off by saying thank you all very, very, very much for your flexibility and the change of dates. That was something that was completely a mistake of mine, and through working together as a team, as I got more feedback about the different dates and the change of dates, and then trying to correspond with Melissa and Hyla through emails, finally it also came to Bernadette. I called her and I said, all right, I need your advice. As a former principal, what do I do here? And she said, I know it seems like a lot of confusion, but we really do need to honor all of our students. So I really do appreciate, and I see by the turnout that the message did get through. So thank you so much for your flexibility and your patience as we've done this. And we will make notes for next fall not to have a conflict, so that we know where to go and where to move forward in the future. So I really do want to thank you for that. The year has started out amazing. The best year, as far as I'm concerned, it's been the best start we've had so far in terms of focus on academics, in terms of behavior with students, and in terms of having everything that we need. I was committed to the teachers this year, making sure that they had every single material in their classrooms when we started the year, smart boards working, all those different things, and that's been really, really great. Again, as we always try to move in one direction and make sure that we're progressing forward, this year we added the new piece about lockers and assigning lockers before school started. That was a hiccup, and we learned a lot from that hiccup. So I do, again, appreciate those of you who corresponded with us and the patience that you had as we went through that process. But overall, the school year has started really, really great. We're into the part of the academics where we're really just perfecting. The teachers, we've worked together on school improvement plans and professional learning communities, and now we're perfecting what we're doing and perfecting the work we're learning towards. One of the biggest changes that you may be aware of is that we don't do tungsten testing anymore. If you guys remember from elementary school, the monthly tungsten testing, we've instead gone to a new assessment system that's called Discovery Education. And Discovery Education is basically a different kind of assessment that marks you against your grade level benchmark, but instead of taking it every month in math and in com arts, they took it in September, they'll take it again in November, and in January. Those results your kids should be getting. Like, the teacher should be sharing them with you, and then at parent-teacher conferences and different things, you should be getting those results back. But it really trends to see if they're on pace to be proficient on the math test or advanced or below basic or basic. So really allows our teachers to drill down specifically to different kids and what strands and what things that they need to work on as they continue to grow. But our sixth. When are they taking the test? They took one already. They took one in the fall as sort of a pre-assessment. It depended on the score, but about 2 or 3 weeks ago, depending on their subject. They'll take it again in November, then they'll take it again in January, and then we take the math test in late March, April. So that's where we're really measuring as we go. As you guys know, too, yes, sir?
Is that all of the kids, or that's all of the kids in the school will be taking this test?
All the kids in the school will be taking the test. They'll take it, and the benchmarks are set for science, math, and com arts, because that's what we're tested in for math. But social studies does take it, and as well as the electives, they're helping teaching reading strategies. So they're using the assessment. They're called PROs, but they use the assessment and the readings. But the official benchmarks are in math, com arts, and science.
So how are we supposed to get the results?
The teachers should have them onto the computer. So when they can. It depends on the teacher if they've passed them out or if they will give them to you at parent-teacher conferences, or you know what it is. This specific one right now is just basically a pre-assessment, but we are just getting into the data and learning how to distribute it. But if it's something that you wish, I can always ask teachers to have it at parent-teacher conferences so that you can see.
Could you give me a brief scenario on for the gifted program, science and social studies? What's in place?
Well, right now there's not a specific thing in place for gifted for science and social studies, with the exception of differentiation with the teachers. So, for example, ensuring when they're doing the projects that they're challenging the kids to where they need to go and helping the kids move to those levels. We have talked a lot about trying to look at Parkway Northeast Middle School, maybe Parkway Central Middle School. They do a program where they do an honors contract, and so I've actually been talking to the principal there to work towards that. And I think I was talking to you about this, Mr. Buckner, but when you look at gifted education kind of regionally, like through all the different middle schools across the region, there's a lot of different philosophies of what you do and what you do for gifted versus accelerated versus, because there's all different types and lists of things. So We kind of right now are in the research phases of seeing what works and what's not worked to make sure that the kids are hitting where they need to go. With math and com arts specifically, the students should be getting, they just took the SRI and they have Lexile scores, and so when they do their independent reading books, the com arts teachers are really working to make sure that your students are reading at their level and then challenging themselves with their independent reading books. And then with the writing, since it's all self-driven, so the com arts is a lot differentiated. And then you know what we do for math with the individualization in 7th and 8th grade.
What is STEM?
STEM. This is good for all this. I see it's like a quiz. STEM is actually a program. It's It's actually world. I don't know if it's worldwide. It's in the nation, but it's a science and technology, engineering and math, and it's basically our WashU supported our teachers in math and science this year. Went through 2 weeks of full training where they went and visited with different corporations like Boeing and different ones, and then they talked about how they can implement real-life projects into their classrooms. Is that right, Ms. Feemster? So basically, and then that training will continue throughout the whole scope of the year. So what they're really looking at is instituting in your science class that you do math and pre-engineering techniques as they try to do that. So it's you may have heard on the national news a lot that's coming out right now about really trying to focus more on science and math technology in the classroom. So kind of what you probably will see with it is that you'll do project-based units, and I think they do one a quarter or one a semester, but they're trying to learn to introduce those into the different work. And they work with Phyllis out of the Institute for School Partnerships at WashU, who comes in and pushes in for the professional development.
Are our kids working with any of that?
All of the kids that are in math and science classes all of the kids across the board are doing STEM projects this year.
Okay, overview in terms of the 6th grade, what about upcoming kids that fall into these categories? What's available for them? Are you putting a plan in place for them?
For next year, is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, this year, next year.
Well, all of the students, we really are trying to individualize their instruction. So, we have Ms. Crawford here and Ms. Feemster, 2 6th grade teachers that can probably speak to different things that they do. But really, one of the things that's different with education now than when we went through school is that they really have a lot of data information on the kids. So really trying to find out what are their actual reading levels, where should they be reading, where are they at in math. If you've been in Ms. Feemster's classroom, you know that it's constantly in different groups, that she's working with different kids in different ways and trying to make sure that they measure up. The Discovery Education also even has online probes that you can actually have kids go and work online with just specific skills. So really individuating education is where we're at. Now, that takes some professional development because even when I was in school, to really be able to differentiate for that many different kids in your classroom, it's not just writing one lesson plan, it's writing 2 and 3 lesson plans for the different groups that you need to hit. So it's a work in progress, but it is something that we're trying to do as we move forward. This idea of the honors contract is something that I'm interested in because I personally don't believe in pulling kids apart to learn. I don't think that there's a lot of research behind that, but I think that there is some value into really looking with kids and saying, okay, you took the pre-assessment, you already show that you have this content knowledge, so what can we do to help you learn in the next 6 weeks so that you can master yourself out? And Amy Zielinski, who is our new instructional facilitator, she comes from Ladue, and they do a lot of these honors contract individual projects with their kids, so she's going to help us work through and learn that process as we go. Because there's no use spending kids' time if they're already showing mastery in these contact areas to have them redo what they're supposed to do.
Could you post on Facebook the content that you're talking about and the way the contracts function so that we can actually look at them? In other words, this is the project that the 7th grade is going to get.
Right.